Welcome back to New Rockstars, I'm Erik Voss, and if Kang the Conqueror killed all the Avengers in some past timeline, when exactly did he kill Captain America Steve Rogers? One crucial detail in Quantumania, and one now very grim detail in Loki, may point to the answer, because it turns out Captain Rogers cannot do this all day.
I can do this all day.
And I will burn them out of time.
And this video is brought to you by Squarespace, more on them later. This When Kang Killed series is something that we've been doing here at New Rockstars since November to pinpoint the precise moments in the lives of each major MCU figure that spawned these Nexus events in which they'd be most vulnerable to Kang targeting them for pruning. Like when they made a specific choice to alter history on their timeline that presented a danger to Kang, or ruptured their timeline to create an incursion, which we know Kang the Conqueror hates. And so next on our list after Thor last month was Captain America Steve Rogers. Cap is obviously a man out of time whose very existence is defined by being displaced from his rightful path through history. He already burned himself out of time, or we should say froze himself out of it. But there's one choice that Steve made that Kang would be like, ooh, yes, right there. By the way, if you're going to WonderCon this year, I will be doing a panel with other New Rockstars hosts on Friday, March 24th at 2:30, room 213 AB. Come hang out with us. So let's break down the exact moment Kang killed Steve Rogers. Let's start by looping back to the moment Kang first talked to Scott Lang in Quantumania.
I'm an Avenger.
Have I killed you before?
What?
They all blur together after a while. You're not the one with the hammer.
That's Thor.
The one with the hammer. Now, I zeroed in on this line when we discussed when Kang might have killed Thor, and I do believe it was Mjolnir's final zap that Frankenstein visioned to life in Age of Ultron that would be a pretty good option. But let's be real for a second. Would Kang have forgotten Thor, an Asgardian god? The kind of conqueror from history and mythology that this Kang in particular fashions himself as? As I'm sure you've already realized, Thor ain't the only Avenger who has used Mjolnir. In fact, if you were to ask most Marvel fans, the most iconic usage of that hammer would be when it was wielded by Steve Rogers in Avengers Endgame. The one with the hammer could have just as likely referred to Captain America, who, from Kang's point of view, bears at least a bit more of a resemblance to Scott Lang in that full-body suit, the short haircut, their shared plucky American resilience. Scott Lang and Steve Rogers are kind of like Sebastian Stan and Richard Madden. Squint your eyes at Bucky and Icarus, and it's easy enough to Durble McDillet them.
So is this Dylan McDermott or Kit McDermott?
You know what? F you.
So would Kang have pruned Cap the moment he picked up Mjolnir to fight Thanos in the Battle of Earth? Hell no! You know Kang was munching on popcorn watching Cap give the business to his big bad predecessor Thanos with a Super Smash Hammer. Kang the Conqueror would have wanted the Avengers to beat up Thanos. I think that's one thing all Kang variants, even the rivals with each other, could agree upon, because we know the TVA, and therefore he remains, made an exception for the Avengers using the time heist to reverse the snap and beat Thanos.
We're not here to talk about the Avengers.
Oh no?
No. What they did was supposed to happen. You escaping was not.
For all Kangs to be powerful, they can't really be competing for power with Thanos. But there was another moment when Cap wielded the hammer that Kang the Conqueror would have been more sensitive to, in which you could forgive Kang for mixing him up with Scott Lang, the end of Avengers Endgame, when Steve walked up on that rebuilt quantum tunnel platform, suited up in that red and white quantum suit, carrying in one hand the briefcase with the Infinity Stones, and in the other, the hammer. And to go on this journey, Cap would have had to go alone through the quantum realm time vortexes, wearing a helmeted Pym-Tech quantum suit modeled on the ones Hank Pym designed for himself and Scott Lang to navigate the quantum realm. Isn't it possible that Kang would have gotten Ant-Man here mixed up with that guy? Look, we're gonna get back to the video in 1 second, but I gotta tell you about Squarespace. Not only are they making it possible for me to make this video, they could also be making it possible for you to do honestly whatever you want to do online. That's because Squarespace makes it easy to make an awesome website that lets you engage with your audience and sell anything you need, your products, the content you create, even your time. Squarespace is the all-in-one platform for building your brand and growing your business online. If you're into making videos, Squarespace can help you create pro-level videos effortlessly. The Squarespace Video Studio app will help you make and share engaging videos to tell your story, grow your audience, and drive sales. And hey, maybe videos aren't your thing because you're more of a social media buff. Well, no problem. You can display posts from any profile you want on your website and automatically push website content to your favorite social media channels so your followers can share it too. No matter what you're doing, Squarespace's analytic tools will help you learn where your traffic and sales are coming from, and so you can improve your website and build a marketing strategy based on either your top keywords or your most popular products and content. Head to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/newrockstars to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. Now, of course, we never saw Cap's return journey to put each Infinity Stone back in the places in time and space where they were taken and to return Mjolnir to Thor, that was all left off screen. And it's been the subject of much speculation over the past 4 years. Returning the Time Stone to the Ancient One in 2012, the Power Stone and the Orb to the Morag Temple in 2014, and the Space Stone Tesseract to the Shield Storage in 1970 at Camp Lehigh, no problem. But returning the Mind Stone Scepter to the hands of Hydra in 2012, less admirable, but doable. But then reinserting the Reality Stone Ether to Jane Foster's body in Asgard in 2013, that's super shady. But ultimately returning the Soul Stone to Red Skull on Vormir, how? There's obviously a whole other history that happened with this guy, but this Steve Rogers could not have been pruned from the Infinity Saga Sacred Timeline because we saw him successfully make it to Peggy, and we saw his elderly form after that life with Peggy make it back to Bucky and Sam. Whether you subscribe to the Russo brothers' interpretation of that ending, so that Steve must have come back to this timeline from the branch timeline he formed by staying with Peggy, or the screenwriters Marcus and McFeely's odd take that this Steve continued to live in the background of this MCU history, either way, if old Steve shows up at the end of Endgame, he could not have gotten pruned or killed. But if we look at the Steve who walked on that quantum tunnel platform, who went back in time on that return journey, not just as one man in one timeline only doing this, but as an infinite number of Steves across every timeline, now things get interesting. The Infinity Saga MCU Sacred Timeline, where old Steve survives, would have been the only one that Kang the Conqueror couldn't touch, because it was protected by He Remains in the TVA's intact clockwork. But Steve Rogers is from other timelines who went back to return the Infinity Stones and Mjolnir, not as lucky, because by doing this, Steve Rogers creates a variant branch that just goes on and on and on, never gets pruned, snaking into another reality, creating an incursion. Old Steve, at the end of Endgame, got away with another crack in the dam of the multiverse. No wonder why he didn't want to talk about it. In fact, that could explain why in episode 1 of Loki, in the background of the TVA, we saw a detained variant who looked a lot like Peggy Carter. That could have been one of the pruned Peggys from one of the other Steve Rogerses who got targeted. Old Steve represents the exception He Remains made for the Avengers timeline shenanigans, and I just don't see Kang the Conqueror letting every Steve get away with that bullshit. Now again, this confrontation between Kang and Steve Rogers would have happened off screen. It's not something that old Steve in Endgame had gone through. I'm inviting you to consider another universe's Steve, one who, instead of getting free passage through the quantum realm time vortexes to return everything, this guy's voyage was hijacked by Kang the Conqueror, who, thanks to the events of Loki, was now freed by Sylvie killing He Remains. So Kang and Steve tumbled through history. 2014 Morag, 2014 Vormir, 2013 Asgard, 2012 Battle of New York, 1970 Camp Lehigh, and then maybe roll punching each other at Peggy Carter's front doorstep in the late 40s. They're duking it out. Cap says, "I could do this all day." Kang says, "That's what the last Steve said," and then snaps his neck in front of Peggy and sends the TVA in to take her away. So I think this Steve, one of his variants, wearing the quantum suit, about to dive into Kang territory, the one with the hammer, about to try to get away with a massive incursion, this is the exact moment that Kang killed Cap. We have a whole new channel called The Deep Dive, where I do a crazy in-depth analysis of Loki Season 1 and a lot of other pointed investigations that I think you'll love. So please subscribe to that and support our growing network by grabbing something from the Deep Dive collection at nerdriot.shop. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at EA Voss, follow New Rockstars, and subscribe to New Rockstars for more analysis of everything you love. Thanks for watching. Bye.